team. And I would like to introduce to you Mr. Robert Bone, who's the Executive Director of the London Parade Festival. Mr. Bone.
Good morning. I said to the Lord Lieutenant as we came on stage, if you were feeling a little sleepy this morning, as we had a very early start, you're certainly wide awake now. Your marching band, ladies and gentlemen, is simply awesome, don't you? We had heard much of the band, and we had seen a little through the electronic medium known as YouTube. And it gives a pretty good impression, but it can't possibly begin to give a really accurate idea of just how magnificent they are. Which is good, because I am contemplating asking the Lord Lieutenant to invite the band to come to perform in what we call the greatest event in the greatest city in the world, London's New Year's Day Parade. Now, you will have noticed I use the word contemplating because I am not in the position to be able to render you an invitation. That comes to our patron, our colleague, the Lord Lieutenant. So I will be exhorting you to give him a very warm welcome in a few minutes' time, because if you don't, the likelihood is he might reconsider. I doubt it, but he might. I would like to tell you just a few things about London's parade, which you almost certainly don't know, but you'll have heard me call it the greatest parade in the greatest city in the world, and I think I'm going to attempt to justify that description of greatest for the event. We have, on New Year's Day in London, performing on the historic streets of the city of Westminster, we have well over 8,000 performers. Now there's an upstart event in the United States of America called Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which everybody thinks is a pretty big deal. I have to tell you that they have less than half the number of people performing in that parade that we do in London. So that's one thing that we have in England bigger than you have in the United States. There aren't many of them, but that's one. We have on New Year's Day in London for the parade a street audience, that is people who can force themselves out of bed on a balmy, warm New Year's Day in London. You're not even reacting to me, you're letting me get away with all sorts of ridiculous things. It's not balmy and warm on New Year's Day in London, okay? But anyway, they do get themselves out of bed, and 2/3 of a million people line the streets of the city of Westminster to watch this magnificent spectacle go by. That is added to by the 280 million people who regularly tune in all around the world on their television sets to watch the live television broadcast of the event. 280 million. So it's a pretty big deal that we're inviting you to. Well, hopefully inviting you to on this event. In addition to the parade, though, we are inviting you, there I go again, we expect to be inviting you to London to enjoy a week in this great capital city. I'm sure you've seen a lot of it recently, haven't you, on the Olympic Games? And I hope you will also agree that we did a pretty good job. Well, we take up the conference of representing London again for the world on January the 1st, 2013, and then with your help in 2014. But anyway, we're going to bring you to London, and we're going to give you a week of a wonderful experience in our city, meeting our people, visiting our historic sites and cultural sites, and generally getting a different perspective of the world, which we are sure you're going to enjoy. Now then, I listened very carefully to what was said when I was announced on the podium, and I heard the words brief remarks, so I can take a hint. I'm not going to go on. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce to you a gentleman who has been instrumental in the creation of London's New Year's Day Parade. He served as the Lord Mayor of the City of Westminster way back in 1985 when the parade was founded. And he has then served as the High Sheriff of Greater London, and all that time also as Deputy Lord Lieutenant for Greater London, representing Her Majesty the Queen for the parade. And still, to this day, this gentleman rides a horse from the household covering at the head of our procession on New Year's Day, as I say, representing the Queen at the head of the procession. So,